You guys, welcome to Greg Rants. Today, we're going to be talking about something a little different. Normally, we're talking about tractors, grease, diesel, oil, tires, burning rubber, smoke, electric, power, ripping dirt. Today, we're talking about my buddy Darryl. Darryl, we met you. You came into our life. It's not by accident, folks. I kind of came up with this saying, and you can quote me. Great people gravitate, and today, Darryl's here. Darryl, you've been in law enforcement. You've grown up. Like I've kind of getting to know you. This is the third time I've ever met you, having conversations. You've been battling cancer and living life. I'm not sure how old you are, but let's just get right into it. I'm going to ask you the typical who, what, when, where, why, and how, and just kind of ask you why you're here today, what you're talking about, and what's your mission, and what you've been through in life. So,
because you promised me a free tractor.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Ed Galindo promised me a free generator. So, what's your full name?
It's Darryl Dunn.
Darryl Dunn?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Darryl Dunn. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up all over the world. My dad was in the military, Navy, and so as a military family, you move every 2.5 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So there's no one place that I truly ever called home.
Where were you born?
Chicago, Illinois.
And then, what's the farthest you've been?
Well, I've lived in Norway. I've lived in Hawaii. I've lived in Germany. I've lived in San Diego. I've lived in China Lake, Washington, D.C.
Where'd you graduate high school?
Ridgecrest, California.
Oh.
The middle of the Mojave Desert.
We were talking about that because I go riding out there a lot. I do hill climb racing and in another lifetime. Now I'm a rental yard father. But you're familiar with Jawbone Canyon because you you graduated Ridgecrest.
Yep.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
From the time I was little, I never changed my mind. I said there's 3 things in life that I wanted to do. And if you were to ask my mom, who is 97, she would tell you that I never deviated from those 3 things that I wanted to do in life.
It's not by accident.
So I wanted to go into the military, specifically the Army. Not because my dad was in the Navy did I not want to be in the same branch that he was in, but as a Christmas present or birthday present, I got that little green Jeep, military Jeep, and it said Army Ranger on the side with the guy with the machine gun in the back.
Wow.
And so
G.I. Joe. Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to be an Army Ranger. Mm-hmm. And I said, I believe One Adam 12. And I saw the TV show One Adam 12, and I go, I want to be a police officer when I get done with the military.
Wow. And
then the third thing I want to be in life, which not quite there, but I am a musician, is I said I wanted to be a professional musician.
That's kind of how we met, through Robert Torres, Octavio De Leo with Ventura County Control Systems.
Right.
What was the third thing?
A musician.
Okay. Yeah, law enforcement, Army, musician.
And I never deviated from that, and I was blessed to be able to accomplish all of those.
So you grew up in Ridgecrest. You traveled the world, graduated Ridgecrest. Did you ride motorcycles at all?
Yes, I did. What else do you do in the desert?
Right. How old are you?
I'm 59.
Wow. Yeah, you got a few years on me. What was the craziest motorcycle you ever rode?
Barstow to Vegas, Husqvarna 370, I believe.
Wait a minute. Back up. You raced the Barstow to Vegas race?
3 times.
Are you kidding me? This guy's a legend, folks.
On Thanksgiving, which hurt my mom's feelings because that's her favorite time of the year is Thanksgiving.
Wow. That's an epic race that no longer exists.
Yep, because of the Bureau of Land Management. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, all 3 times that I raced it, I broke down all 3 times.
Oh, you never finished.
No, I did finish.
Oh,
I finished
okay.
once, but broke down and,
Okay.
was able to get some, parts and make it through like way after everybody else was done, took a shower and was out, in the casinos. I'm still riding, but I did finish.
Oh, wow. Good
I was
for
determined.
You, man. Way to go. It's awesome. I've done the Return of the Widowmaker hill climb twice, but I never made it over.
And I did the very first Mammoth motocross.
Oh, wow. What year was that?
72.
On what bike?
A Yamaha 250, I believe.
I'm trying to do the math here, how old you were. I mean, you must have been like a late teen, early 20s, right?
High school?
Okay.
No, I graduated from from high school at 17.
Right, but you did the first Mammoth motocross race and...
I was probably 16, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was like, God, you must be young.
Yeah.
And
that was fun.
Yeah, I bet. High altitude.
Yes.
So after Mojave, what'd you do? What led
Well, after I graduated from high school, I went to college. I went to Long Beach State.
Okay.
Majored in criminal justice because I wanted to go into law enforcement, and got my bachelor's degree. Got recruited right out of college to go into law enforcement. Spent a total of 20 years in law enforcement. Would still be doing it today had I not come down with cancer. I loved every day of it. And I did 4 years in the military, which is what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I loved being in the military, serving my country. My dad taught me from a very young age. He was an example of being of service to others. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of spent my life being of service to others, being law enforcement, military, and been a pastor for 20 years.
Wow.
And do a lot of things in the community as a pastor. Mm-hmm. So I'm not at the pulpit. I have been at the pulpit, but I prefer to do things out in the public, helping underprivileged people, do a lot of things. I've done a lot of things with Teen Challenge, Tender Life, the City Center. Mm-hmm. But my main thing was premarital counseling and couples counseling.
Oh, wow. I want to ask you how your dad, learned those lessons to teach you. Like, my dad was taught by his dad, and my grandpa was in the Rotary Club of Santa Barbara for many years and got me into loving hot rods and going fast in cars and told me I always should be a Rotarian. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Rotary Club,
mm-hmm.
but
I am.
I very much believe in giving back to the community and just kind of ingrained in my DNA like you. How do you think your dad learned that to pass it on to you?
That's a question that I wished I would have asked him before he passed away. I just knew there were always seeing him in his dress uniform, seeing him in his pilot's uniform, always having people over at the house. One of the things that it irritated me as a kid because my mom and dad would open up their house at Thanksgiving and at Christmas for those that couldn't go home.
Right.
And so my dad, I remember from being very young, my dad says, "Today you don't call me by my rank. You call me Emmanuel," which was my father's first name.
Yeah.
Or Manny. Mm-hmm. And he said, so he always opened up his house. So at Christmas, it was just never like my mom, my dad, my sister, and me. There were always these strangers.
Yeah.
And same thing at Thanksgiving. Yeah. In fact, as I got older, my dad we wouldn't eat until like all the posts, like my mom would box up food and we would deliver it to all the posts where, the guys are standing guard before we ever ate.
That's amazing.
And that taught me a lot about, giving back.
You're a Rotarian, man. You really are. I mean, and more.
And my dad always taught me, he goes, it's the people around you that make you successful. If you take all the credit and say, I, he goes, people won't respect you. People won't want to work for you. He says, if you treat the troops, the people that as you gain rank, and whether it's law enforcement, military, or whatever, he says, if you forget where you came from, if you decide, okay, now I have these stripes or I have this or that, and you start to go, I'm the boss, we're going to do it my way. He says, you will never become a great leader. So he says, surround yourself with smart people, surround yourself with people that share the vision that you do. Ultimately, it's your responsibility to make the tough calls.
Yeah.
But he says, and when something goes good, you make sure to give credit to everybody.
Yeah.
And I respected that.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of the code that I've always lived by when I do things and people go, oh, you did this. No, we did this.
Yeah,
we did that. I mean,
right.
Yes, there are individual things, but
right.
most things are a team.
Yeah, it's not, we use that here, and I try to instill that in our guys. This is us. This is ours. We're all doing this. We're all in this together.
Right.
It's not just me out here. I want to make as my buddy Zach always tells me, there's a rule of economics. You make the pie as big as you can, so where everybody gets a bigger slice.
Amen.
Straight up. Like, I can't eat all this pie, man. Let's just make it big so you get a fat slice, she gets a fat slice, he gets a fat slice.
Right.
True words of inspiration there from your pops, man. That was.
My dad taught me how to be a man. He was hard on me as a military guy. It's like you get up in the morning, the bed was made where you could bounce a quarter off of it. Everything was nice and neat. I couldn't have things just thrown around. It's like, it's my room. Why can't I just? No.
God bless America.
He says, you will get up in the morning, you will make your bed,
Yeah.
you will do this, you will do that. And, things that when you're young, you kind of, why is he so hard on me? But like my dad told me, he goes, if you dig a ditch, you need to dig the ditch as though it's your ditch.
Absolutely.
You build a fence, you paint a wall, you do it as though it's yours. Because if you do a sloppy job and somebody goes, oh, who painted that? It's going to come back on you.
I used to hate my pops for it then, but I love him for it now.
Yeah.
Like my dad, I tell people this story often. He drug me to work in my underwear. I wouldn't get out of bed, 13 years old, hanging out with my friends, and get up, we're going to work. No, I'm sleeping. Leave me alone. And you got 30 seconds, buddy. And all of a sudden, I'm like, whatever. I roll over. Maybe a minute of silence. Well, that minute of silence was he was outside filling up the 5-gallon bucket in the garden hose. Door flew open and boom! I ripped the covers off me. Here's a 5-gallon bucket of ice cold hose water, buddy. And I'm hysterical. And he drags me to the yard, kicking and screaming and crying. Gets the guys rolling. Makes me suffer, for an hour there while he gets everybody rolling, crying in the cab of the truck. Takes me back home. I get my clothes on. We go back to work. There's a common respect value earned and gained there. And then, dadgummit, next time he told me get out of bed, guess what I did?
That was my dad's favorite word with me. Dadgummit, Darryl.
Dadgummit, Darryl? I'm going to remember that. Thanks for telling me.
I was telling somebody that last evening. I was going, my dad used to just look at me and shake his head and go, Dadgummit, Darryl.
You get on that bike and go race that hill, buddy.
Didn't cuss. The dadgummit was his thing. But it's funny when you're young. You kind of think, God, well, so and so's parents, they get to do this and they get to do that, and
not us.
No, my dad goes, my house, my rules. It's my job to clothe you, give you 3 square meals a day, to keep a roof over your head. Everything else you need to earn.
It's divine intervention. That's why you and I are sitting here today.
But you don't appreciate those things until later on, and then all of a sudden, I'm not sure. Like I said, I was probably 18 or 19 when all of a sudden the bell came on. The light bulb moment, and go, oh, now I get why he was this way?
It was for me. I went to Reedley College up below Fresno for CAT diesel tech for a year. My mom and dad came to me when I was being a shithead. Said, "Hey, go to school, get a job, or get out." And I was pissed for a couple weeks. And my mom says, "Hey, son, there's a program. You can go do a program." And we went up and looked at it. I stayed in the dorms and for a year. And then I came back and realized what my pops was doing here at this yard. And just said, hey, I started plugging in right when things were tough, and he was kind of plugging out, I guess. And that's maybe a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But we're talking about you today, what you're going through and what you've been through. And, it's kind of evolving our conversation into life hacks and, life's a tough journey, Darryl.
So my dad used to, another thing my dad used to always say is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I was blessed. So the vision that I had, I was fortunate to never let anything derail that. Mm-hmm. When I got knocked down, and I got knocked down a lot in life, my dad says, get back up and keep going. Yeah. If you're going through hell, keep going. Come out the other side.
I don't know how you've been through everything. What I'm trying to get to those stories for you here.
Are you talking about cancer?
Well, that, but you also, are we allowed to talk about the time the mailbox blew up on you? Briefly, short, if you give me 2 sentences on how.
Okay, so when I was on the sheriff's department, I was a member of the bomb squad, but this was not a bomb squad day call out. I was plain clothes up in Los Postos Estates, came around the corner, saw smoke coming out of a mailbox, flipped a U-turn. The mailbox was in a brick enclosure, and that's what really saved me. And as I started to walk up to the mailbox, I heard rustling, which I recognized as people kind of running.
Right.
And so I stopped, looked over my shoulder. Next thing I knew, I was in the middle of the street. Yeah. Had I not stopped, because the lid of the mailbox was 67 feet away. It was measured.
Right.
There were cracks in the ground. So asphalt street, very wide.
You're lucky to be alive.
Bricks.
You're lucky to be alive. And then
I had to end up having, later in life, I ended up having cornea transplants to both eyes, several.
Because it hit you, yeah.
Several surgeries.
So basically a pipe bomb blew up.
I'm completely deaf in one ear and have 65% of my hearing in the other ear.
So that happened, and how many years after that did you get cancer? How much time?
I came down with throat cancer. That was the first type of cancer I had while I was still on the job. Mm-hmm. That was fairly straightforward in the fact that for at least 2 months, I kept going to the doctor because I couldn't swallow, and he kept saying I had tonsillitis. And I said, well, then let's take them out. And he goes, as an adult, you do not want to have your tonsils taken out. He goes, it will be pure agony. Mm-hmm. Oh, so the ice cream thing? He goes, no. So it got worse to where I was hoarse all the time.
It hurt. And you're still on the job.
Yes, it hurt to swallow. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my bosses. I told my bosses that I was getting my tonsils out. I did not tell them that I had been diagnosed with throat cancer.
Got it.
So they went in, they took out, my tonsils, and they took out, the tumor. Mm-hmm. I did not have to have chemo. I did not have to have radiation. It was probably maybe 2 months before I got my voice back full time. To this day, I don't like to drink things super, super cold because it irritates my throat. And I can't talk for long periods of time because my voice actually fades out. I used to be a dynamite singer in the shower. Now I don't even sound good in the shower. I lost my singing voice.
You got some hair that just doesn't quit, brother. Like, I could imagine. You know, you wouldn't even think that you were ever sick. I mean, you got a chest on you. You look great. I think you really look great, man, for everything you've gone through.
Thank you.
And it kept going with you, right? Tell me where it went.
When you have throat cancer, there's a high probability that it will eventually turn into brain cancer. They were never sure because of the type of cancer I had if it was related, but I ended up having a brain tumor. I was now not with the department anymore. I was with my church. My brain surgery was 14 hours, 58 minutes, and 32 seconds.
Wow. 14 hours, 52 minutes, and 32 seconds.
I was paralyzed from the waist down for 6.5 months. Worked my way back. And they told me that there was a very high probability that I might not even make it off the table.
Right.
And they thought, I could stroke out, all sorts of things. And I kind of thought, well, okay, then if you just put me to sleep, it's all over and there won't be any pain.
Yeah, yeah.
But I did wake up.
People are going through life, Darryl, and stressing about their dog getting groomed or maybe their rent being paid and their next hair appointment.
Well,
I think the craziest thing is we're going to have to do is die. And what's all this stuff mean in between it?
Well, I always, because I've done, as a pastor, I've conducted a number of funerals. And I've always said that the moment you take your first breath, you're starting to die.
Yeah. Yeah. It's time.
Each one of us has a ticking clock.
Right.
Now, there's certain things that car accidents, homicides, whatever that, were unexpected.
I believe it's truly out of our control. It's up to the big man upstairs.
Well, God didn't give me cancer.
Right.
God didn't give me cancer. God does not want to see people, die. We were engineered to have a perfect body and live forever. It was sin that caused all these things, but that's for a different topic.
Right.
But for me, when you say people do this, people that, I don't like to compare myself to anybody else. In other words, I don't like people saying, "Oh, you've endured so much, and you're this or that," and I'm going, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
It's damn right. It's not by accident.
But cancer, well, it blows.
Yeah.
It's my lot in life.
Yeah. Being
sick is my lot in life. But I choose to not be one of those people, "Oh, I feel sorry for me." I don't do that. I get up.
That's what it wants.
Each and every day,
Yeah.
When the alarm clock goes off in the morning, I go, I got to get up and I got to do something. And
right.
My code that I have lived by basically since I was in the military is do something for somebody else each and every day. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be as small as allowing people to merge in traffic when nobody else will let them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holding the door open for people, not expecting them to say thank you. You see somebody struggling, your work's done, even though it's not your department, how can I help?
Mm-hmm.
A simple thing like complimenting somebody.
Yeah.
You look nice today.
Yeah.
With the Me Too movement, though, I'm not I'm not sure anymore because some people get upset. Hey, you look nice today. I didn't look nice yesterday. Oh, God, yeah. Sorry. But I'm saying it doesn't have to be a big thing. I remember I don't drink coffee, but I was in Starbucks picking up a coffee order for the church, and I told the barista. I didn't know the guy behind me. I said, I'm paying for whatever his is. And I said, the rest is a tip. The guy got so upset. I don't want to owe you anything. And I'm like, whoa. And it was like, and it's like I don't know. I have a lot of assumptions about why he was that way, but I don't want to.
It's like a karma thing.
And but he was offended and irritated that I was buying him a cup of coffee.
Wow.
And I wasn't sticking around to say thank you. I was walking out. I was walking out the door, and I thought we were going to come to blows over me trying to. But what I'm saying is, like a couple weeks ago, I was in line, and there was a lady in front of me, and she was like $6 short on being able to pay for her whole bill.
Right.
And the cashier was, well, what do you want to put back? And she was embarrassed because there was kind of a line.
A little tension.
And I, obviously could hear the conversation because I'm like right there. And I just go, excuse me. I said, what's the balance? And I just paid it. And it wasn't, I wasn't looking for anything great. I just think that there are people that have done things for me that have been unexpected.
Right.
Pleasantly surprised.
Right.
And so that's just my personal code is try to do something for somebody else every day. Like when I'm able to, I work out at the gym, and there are people that aren't doing something right, and I'll go, hang on, or hey, do you need a spot? Or people are notorious for just leaving their weights everywhere. It drives me crazy.
Darryl just keeps going. Yeah.
Goes back to my dad saying put things back and stuff. And so I'll pick up the weights and carry them across the gym and put them away.
So you had throat cancer, and then
brain cancer,
stomach cancer,
testicular cancer, and then finally bone, and don't have my leg.
And now Darryl lost his leg.
Have you seen it?
I don't take it lightly, bro. I don't. I've had a couple of knee surgeries. I still have a screw in my right knee, and I know what it's like to be without a leg for a minute. Luckily, I healed and I'm still here, and my heart goes out to you. I don't know how the hell you keep going every day, and you're an inspiration to all of us.
Because I had a choice. Like the day after I lost my leg, and I shouldn't have lost my leg, they were able to get the tumor, but then I got an infection called MRSA, which you get in the hospital.
Wonderful.
And but the day after I lost, had my leg amputated, doctor came in and he says, you have a choice. You can either be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. You can decide that you want to, use crutches, or you can decide to learn how to walk again. He goes, only you're going to be able to make that decision. Mm-hmm. And I laughed and I go, of course I'm going to walk again.
Yeah.
And
that's your attitude.
It's
ingrained in your blood.
It's funny because I tell people I've had to learn to walk all over 4 times in my life. Obviously as a toddler, which I don't remember.
Yeah.
Then after brain surgery, and then after having my leg amputated. And there was 2 phases I had to go through after my leg amputated. When they give you your first device, all it is just a straight pole with a plastic foot with a socket, and you put this Velcro belt around your waist. And that is...
I couldn't even imagine, bro.
It's clumsy. It's clumsy. It's all these things. But insurance companies just don't pay. The leg that I have is $120,000.
Wow.
And
that prosthetic leg?
Yes, that I have now. And that's not the most expensive ones out there.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Vince Bertolucci? He's on the worldwide something sports.
I believe
ABC,
you asked me about him.
Racing the Widowmaker. He lost his leg in a lawnmower accident, and he's racing the Widowmaker race, and his dad showed up and duct taped his leg to the side of the foot peg on a high output, hill climb bike going up the hill, Widowmaker. But I never asked Vince how much his prosthetic leg cost. That's a lot of money. And you're here today. We're talking about your mission and where you're at and where you're going. I don't want to cut anything short. I hope I'm not forgetting anything.
My mission is to there are things that as nothing to do with cancer, kind of like on the back nine of life, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I want to do I did a documentary several years ago that was well received on human trafficking. Mm-hmm. But I want to do documentaries on people that have lost limbs and have overcome. You see the Paralympics, and it's unfortunately that it doesn't get publicized as much as it should. People turn off the TV because they feel uncomfortable watching a guy in a wheelchair race with no legs or seeing a person ski down a hill on a chair.
You still have leukemia. You're doing that, right? You're doing that weekly. Like you got to go to the hospital. I have to
go. I'm in the hospital twice a week for what's called plasmapheresis. It sucks the plasma out of my blood, and then I get fresh frozen plasma put back in. Going through chemotherapy, and so it's
in your spare time when you're not doing that, you are looking for Greg Rance to sponsor a camera. What are you going to do with that camera if Greg Rance can somehow do I'm going to scrape together a fundraiser.
There's two things I want to do.
I'm going to go do anything I can to raise this money to put a camera in your hands because I believe in you. I can see it in your eyes. I can feel it in your soul. That
I appreciate it.
You're going to do great things, and I know it, and I want to get
I want to do stories about people that have overcome that have, like I have a really good friend who was born with no arms, no legs, and he's got a massive following. Can you imagine and the guy, he's married, mm-hmm. he has kids.
Wow.
And he's an inspiration, speaks to thousands of people.
Yeah.
My journey with cancer, I have spoken to more people than I ever would have at the pulpit in the church.
Yeah.
Because people ask me all the time. They come into my room, they see me hooked up to tubes and, hanging my head over the side with a pan because, things have to come up that don't want to come up. And they go, how do you keep doing it? And I'm going, because what other choice do I have?
Right.
It's like, if I sit here and feel sorry for myself, then cancer's going to win.
Yeah.
And cancer's not going to win. We're going to kill each other. We're going to kill each other.
Not going to win,
but
Darryl.
That's fine.
We're being told to wrap it up.
Okay. Nice talking to you.
We're gonna whoop this thing's ass. We're gonna get you this camera. You guys stay tuned. Darryl's gonna get this camera. You guys make sure to like and subscribe to this video. This is sincere. Like and subscribe to our channel. We're gonna do a badass fundraiser. Somehow we're gonna get Darryl his money for his camera. By the way, Darryl, what kind of camera do you need?
I want a Canon RC5.
Canon RC5 camera. Like and subscribe to our videos. We're doing a fundraiser. We're going to get Darryl what he needs. We're going to put him in the bio. Darryl, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
You got balls. You got guts. You keep on going, man. Love you. Wrap.
Actually, I only have one. Just a little joke.
Actually, I only got one bottle. One bottle.
That's fine.
One bottle.